All right, if you're a douchebag, cars you like are collapsing in value. If you like old classy cars and you're just an old jerk like us, maybe not so bad. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show. All right, welcome, douchebags. We are getting it started. Hello, my name is John Polnick. I am the host of Bid Nerds, coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas in the Rami Studios, as well as my partner right over there, not in the studio. He's in San Francisco. That is Michael Deeb. How you doing, Michael Deeb?
JP, I expected you to be dripping wet from your time at Air and Mostly Water.
Yeah.
Did it only rain for like that first hour? How did it go? Looked like you guys had a good time.
Long enough to give Rami's leather jacket a nice patina. You know, I think it fits it just a little bit more snug on him, so
That's
he's
good.
happy. He likes to wear it that way. Hello, everybody. If you are just getting home from your air and water adventure in Costa Mesa, welcome back. If you're still traveling and you're watching this after the live, then, well, we hope you made it home safe. Shout out to Mental. I know he was in the 912. I flew out right after the show.
Right.
And he left in the 912, and I think he may have just gotten home.
Oh,
the 60-mile-an-hour car, you know, for it's a long drive in an old 68 911 or 912.
Mental is the Iron Butt Award winner of our group for sure. He is as hardcore as they come. He races Miatas and anything with tires. So if anybody was up for it, it would be him. Mikey would actually do something like that too, but the award this time goes to Mental. Shout out to the Spud Syndicate. I don't want to name names because I didn't get permission, but a member of the Spud Syndicate bid on one of the early Porsches at the auction at Air and Water. I was, read into the situation and gave my analysis, and said human being bought that car and won it right in the range I gave them. So a thrilling victory to friends of the Spid Syndicate. You know who you are, but well done. You know, like you did a little homework, and they stayed at home and got on the phone and put a bid in and won a car on the early listing. And I couldn't be happier for that person. So JP, it's entirely possible when you and I go up to what's it called? Cars and Water, Air and Coffee.
Air and Coffee.
Air and Coffee with Kelly Smith. It's entirely possible that the timing could work out. We might see that car there, or over the weekend that we're around. So we'll talk more about that. But until I get permission, we'll just say loose congratulations.
That is right. All right, and also shout out to everyone who came out to Cars Un Cafe this morning in both Las Vegas and San Francisco. We had a great time this morning. Really great weather here in Vegas. I don't think so, not so much in San Francisco, but it's all good. So thanks you guys for showing up. All right, let's get to the show, guys. We are talking car auctions. If you're new to the show, thanks for checking us out. What we do here is we analyze listings on Bring a Trailer, sometimes Cars and Bids and P-Car Market. We talk about these interesting listings. We analyze those listings, and then we get to the nitty-gritty. We make a prediction. What do we think will happen as a result of these listings? And we always start off every episode by going over our predictions from the last episode. That's right. We actually put our money where our mouth is. We're right here. We're accountable. Imagine that.
Yeah. Keeping receipts.
That's right. Okay. So, and the big thing tonight, douchebaggy cars, douche cars, right? Guys like Jack Doherty are known for driving things like, the Lambos and the Ferraris and stuff like that, the late model
Clarence.
stuff. I looking at the results from the last episode, I think those guys are looking for a world of hurt, and maybe they deserve it, but let's get to it. What was the first car we made a prediction on the last episode, Michael D?
All right, JP, one of our favorite cars of all time. If you love air-cooled Porsches, this thing is kind of like royalty. It's sort of the holy grail. What we're talking about is this 1993 Porsche 911 Turbo 3.6. This particular version is what the Porsche fans call ROW, which means rest of the world. In other words, this car was not destined to be sold new in the U.S., but rather a ZZZ VIN that was destined to go somewhere else on the planet. Somebody imported this car a while ago, and the car eventually wound up in the hands of our friends down at Symbolic International in San Diego, or La Jolla, California. Beautiful car, JP. 100,000 kilometers on the odometer, which is just 62,000 miles from new. Amazon green, which I'm going to go ahead and say, or at least in these photos, has aged better than, we joked and lamented how this was such a common color in the early 90s. You could buy a Honda Civic or a Lexus sedan or a beautiful Porsche Turbo 3.6 in all different versions of this shade of teal. But most of those other cars are gone, JP. They're not on the road anymore. So when we look at this color again through the filter of this is a highly collectible car and we don't see 964 Turbo 3.6s at your local Cars and Coffees or on rallies very often, I'm going to say I think the color's aged really, really well. Black, full upholstery, sports seats and limited slip and speed lines and Brembo brakes. I mean, this car has it all. Plus a 355 horsepower version of the air-cooled 3.6 single turbo motor. By all accounts, JP, and I've never been turned loose in one of these cars, I imagine this would be one of the funnest cars Porsche's ever produced, sort of as a regular range color for the car for the road. With that in mind, JP, we know these cars are doing well. Despite a soft market, turbo 3.6s are still kind of a bright spot and bring decent money. JP, we said that Classic.com tells us that the average selling price of a 3.6 in the secondary market is just $345,000. I thought this car would do essentially that number, being an ROW and having 100,000 kilometers on it. So my bid, JP, was $350,000. You took the under. $340,964 was your bid. Rami Mirza of the Rami Studio, our friend and buddy, he was in the studio with you, and Rami loves this car. Rami owns like a race car version of this car. And so he bid with his heart, not his brain. Rami went way over to $450,000, thinking that the rare color and maybe being an offshore car might help it. JP, you and I were in the hunt. Our car hammered for $356,964, where it sold on 38 bids. So a couple things. One, pretty decent bid count. I'm impressed with that. I like it. The number is really fair money. I'm surprised, to be honest, that they took that. I kind of thought when I bid $350 that they might be looking for a little bit more, but they accepted $356,000. So I just say that's a win-win-win, right? Like, this car was on consignment, so the seller sold it well. The owner of the car sold it well. The platform sold the car, and somebody just bought it for, I think, a fair value. Because if the market goes up, I could see this car having a $400,000 valuation or more, as these rare air-cooled era cars in this excellent condition continue to appreciate despite the soft market. So that is a win for everybody, including me. So JP, you're the only one that got pooped on this one, because I beat you to the punch by 10 grand. So I was closer. I'll take the victory. Which is, I'm happy to brag about it, because you've been kicking my ass for the last 4 weeks or more. So JP, anything to unpack on that result? You and I were like, that's a fair price and yeah, well done. The seller accepted it. He wasn't looking for an unreasonable amount of money. Well bought, right?
Yeah, it's nice to see a seller that doesn't have his head up his ass. This guy is definitely not a douchebag, and this isn't an example of a douche car. I mean, this is a blue chip classic right here. I mean, you just don't get much better than that. Single Cab says it best. He says that car could be in dog shit brown and it would still look good. And he's absolutely right. And that might be a factory color. I don't know. And the PCA members, yeah, or maybe it's a paint to sample dog shit. And the PCA members would pay an extra $50,000 for it, because that's just how dumb they are. I got a question for you, Deeb. Coming off of the Aaron Water show, at Aaron Water, your old friends over there at Broad Arrow, of course, have their big auction at the event. And I don't know if you got a chance to see any of the results of any of the auctions that happened there. I know a CGT that was, most of their valuations, most of the car, they all sold, but they sold under valuations. I think the CGT was, they were thinking it was going to be, what's that?
It sold for like one.
It was like 1.8. It was, I think it was 1.8, because it was supposed to be 2.2. But it had like really low miles. It definitely wasn't that low, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I thought it was 1.3, but I was looking at it on my phone, so a 3 and an 8 could look very similar.
Yeah, 1.3 would be crazy low.
If you're in the nerd herd and you're not familiar with, there's a free app you can download called Hammer Price. And if you go and download Hammer Price for free, when a big company like RM Sotheby's or Gooding or Bonhams or Haggerty, Broad Arrow Group has an auction, you'll see the name of the auction and the date. You can add that to your list and it'll populate in your feed. You can get Hammer results, including the buyer's premium, in real time to your phone. So I, of course, was watching because I was vested in this person in the Spud Syndicate winning this early run car in said auction. So I glanced at the results after the auction. And JP, I got to tell you, all those auctions are looking for to brag at least an 80% sell-through rate. And I am here to tell you, I'm not sure they sold 60% of their cars. Now, in the 24 to 48 hours after the auction is complete, a lot of post-hammer deals are made with the underbidders offline. So it's entirely possible that if they ran, let's just say 70 cars and they sold 40 of them or 45, they might sell another 5 or 6 cars and get themselves to 50, but that does not get them to 80%. And I would say by all accounts, that was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. And so I feel for my friends. I feel for the consigners. And the other thing you got to consider is, JP, if the average selling price of a car in the auction is, let's just say, for this auction, $100,000, all the cars that are under 100 grand ran no reserve. So those are the cars that sold. So you're telling me all the cars that had a reserve, like that automatically puts all the cars that had a reserve as not selling. How many customers, how many cars have they burnt? You know what I mean? Like, it's brutal to talk like this on a podcast, but holy God, you got to take it into consideration. So it is a little bit of a buyer's beware sort of thing out there. You should trust professionals like the Bid Nerds. We've got our finger on the pulse. Well, we can sell your car.
Yeah, you should probably stop talking because I think we just made a big mistake. This car didn't sell. This 99.
At what price?
At $356,964. Did it sell after the sale? Is that what you said? The 964 that we're talking about right now, guys.
Bid to.
Yeah. Well, bid to. It got to $356,964, and what did I say? I was like, oh yeah, finally a seller that didn't have his head up his ass. Well, I was wrong. We were wrong. Bid nerds are wrong. See, that's the thing. We're accountable. When we're wrong, we'll go ahead and say it. And this is definitely one of those situations where we just dropped the ball, dumbasses.
I'm gonna put you on the spot because I feel like you filled out the doc and it says sold in the doc, so I did not read the listing.
There you go.
So I'm gonna kick my partner under the bus and then go put my bus driver's hat on and drive over him myself. So you're right, JP. Thank you for catching that, or whoever in the nerd.
It wasn't me. Yeah, I'm watching the nerders going. Wait a minute, this thing didn't sell. That's why you guys. If you're new to the show, if you haven't ever watched us before, we're generally wrong about things, but not usually this wrong. That said, where you really get the real information and the real knowledge is over there in the nerd herd. Get in there and participate in the live chat because everyone's kind of keeping us in check. Yeah, and they're making sure that we don't make complete morons out of ourselves. We're only kind of morons. Michael Buddha blames the tariffs for that. That's
absolutely.
That's his move. Everything's the tariffs. Orange guy stuff. Okay, let's move on. Let's see if we can get some of these other ones right because we totally blew that one. Let's try the next car. What was the next car that we made a prediction on?
Oh, my computer's freezing up as we go to work. All right, JP. The next car was a 2006 Aston Martin DB9 Volante running no reserve on Cars a Bid, showing just 21,000 miles out of Tennessee. JP, this is the ultimate country club car. I think the trunk is just big enough to fit a set of golf clubs in the back. These cars were very popular in period. And I want to say that when Aston was producing these cars, they were enjoying a little renaissance with some of that money they got from whoever had invested in them at the time. It might have been Ford money, or somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It might have been, Land Rover money, but they were producing really, really pretty cars. Now, these cars have not held up in the secondary market. This would have been an expensive sport luxury GT in its heyday. And today, JP, you can pick these cars up for a song. So despite having ridiculously low miles at just 23,700 miles, we wondered aloud how well this car would do running no reserve on Cars and Bids, which I think you and I agreed probably not the top choice that we would select to run this type of car. I think a car like this with slightly better assets, would have done better on a different platform. Just my take. There's certain cars that Doug sells better than all the rest. This, I don't think, is one of them. So with that in mind, JP, I thought this car had a chance to touch $40,000. John, you were way more pragmatic than I was. Your bid was only $32,000 on the car. Rami came in between the two of us. Rami, ever the diplomat, $37,500. Again, John, the car was running no reserve. It hammered at $31,750 where it sold on 34 bids. I've not talked to Bailey. It was his buddy selling the car for his mother. I'm not sure if they're happy with that result. In reality, I think that's a little soft. I think they left a little bit of money on the table. I wish I could have had a consultation with them before they went to choose cars and bids, but there you go. They ran it no reserve. They got 31 and it sold. JP, honestly, do you think that car would have brought any more money on BAT? I kind of want to believe that it would, but your bid reflects that the car hit right where you thought it would. Do you think the platform had anything to do with that number? Was there money left on the table by doing it better or different?
Normally, I would say, yes, it's the platform's fault on this one. This is definitely a douchebaggy car. I mean, this is something for a baller. This is something, but, it's going to be kind of hard. The person that wants this doesn't have $30 or $50 or even $20,000. They have to finance this, and it's difficult to finance something, from 2006. That said, the platform, I don't think it was the platform's fault that this thing didn't bring more money, but I do think it was the platform's fault that this thing didn't bring more money. Let me explain. This is one of these things where, okay, people say Doug DeMaro's not running it anymore. I don't know. Quality control has gone right out the window. One of the things that Cars and Bids has in their listing, in kind of their listing, I don't know, the way they do it, the way their protocol, for lack of a word. They always have the equipment and the modifications, and they have a section called known flaws. And they've got like 10 flaws listed here. The first flaw is like some chips on the front end, scuffs on the bumper, some creases and wear on the seat. It all sounds like normal wear and tear stuff. The very last thing, neither of us caught this when we were talking about this car on the last episode. The November 2024 service invoice notes the cylinder heads require replacement and the engine is currently misfiring due to excessive cylinder leaks caused by carbon buildup. What the F? That's buried? Why is this car even for sale? I mean, if you were talking to your buddy, what the hell is that all about? Are you out of your mind selling a car with that? It just boggles the mind. How did this thing even bring $30,000 at all? Who bought this stupid thing?
Lot to unpack on your take. First of all, I think it's funny that you think this is a douchey car. In my opinion, JP, this is a boomer car going to another boomer who just wants a convertible and park it. I don't see somebody who just sold a wad of crypto buying this car. It's the wrong color.
That's the wrong kind of douche. There's douches with a bunch of money, and then there's douches that have no money, but they want to be a baller. So they're the ones that are going to buy a 10, 15-year-old Aston or Bentley or Porsche or anything with a name. They don't care what it is. They just can I get into an Aston? Great, super. Sign me up at 25% interest. Let me put $0 down or $5,000 down or whatever. And then the seller puts a low jack in it and knows that they're gonna have to come and repo it in 3 months anyway.
Mom, what's the last 4 of your social? I'm filling out a credit app.
Right, and I mean, and that's the only person that makes any sense to buy this thing with excessive cylinder leaks. I mean. Oof. Good Lord, guys. What do you guys think of this Aston Martin? And what do you guys think of that listing? Should Cars and Bids just straight up have rejected this car? Going, look, this is a basket case, essentially. This is
they ran it no reserve, and it's money in the bank. They are never going to think of it that way. You're bringing, I don't know, reason to the whole situation. This is a for-profit business. They'll run anything that anybody wants to sell that fits their criteria, which in this case is anything built after 85, right? So, so there you go. Anyways,
Buddha agrees with me. This car, buy here, pay here, and Rich is like, it's off to Russia. Let's move on. What's the next car? What do we got?
All right, JP, we're going to circle back to the 2010 458 Ferrari 458 Italia. This coupe has just 28,000 miles from new. And John, I picked this car because I feel like 458s are on the come up. Their value has been increasing, and they're bringing really good money. So, without further ado, I selected this Bianco Avis paint car with a Neuro leather interior. Here, the car has black carbon fiber race seats, which I think are fantastic. They're super comfortable and they're super easy to get in and out of. So I really like this particular example because those seats make such a huge difference. Without further ado, JP, I thought that according to our friends at classics.com, the average selling price of a 2010 458 Berlinetta coupe is $185,000. I thought this car with the seats and the fair mileage would do just a little bit better. My bid was 201. John, you took the under by just a couple of bucks. 199,458 was your bid. And Rami Mirza really dug the car. He bid over both of us. He went to 210. Our car hit on Bring a Trailer $168,801, where it failed to sell on 35 bids. Now, JP, when COVID hit in 2020 and 2021, these cars were trading for that number. You could have bought this car for $168,000, no problem. In fact, you might have been able to get it for a little less than that. You might have been able to 148 or 158. But these cars are bringing a lot more money today, and I got to tell you, I'm like shocked that I thought this car would do a little better than it did. I don't think that price is a reflection of the value, but the car didn't transact on the biggest auction platform in the world. So now's your chance to tell me why I'm wrong. I think this car, I personally wouldn't have wanted to let go for that number. So I'm not surprised that the seller didn't either. But do you think that was all the money?
Market spoken, that's what it's worth. This is a douchebag car, hardcore douchebag car. This is all douchebag all the time. I know they were coming up like a couple of weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago was a different, like 2 or 3 weeks ago was a different time. People have a completely different mindset out there right now. And, you know, we just said on the last car, like, you know, the Aston Martin is the douchebag that doesn't have any money. This car is for the douchebag that does have money. But the douchebag that does have money is kind of scared to spend that money right now, because they know even though they're a douchebag, they're like, oh, maybe I should be a little bit more careful with what I'm doing. Money would be much better spent on a classic, on something, you know, like an old Porsche or an old Ferrari with a gated transmission or something like that. I think a car like this is just, I know they were kind of on the uptrend because the newer Ferraris, people don't like them as much, but I just think they're going to languish now.
Don't listen to my air-cooled partner. This is a neo-classic. This is the last normally aspirated mid-engine V8 that Ferrari
What do?
made.
It's got flappy paddles. Nobody cares.
This
like
motor
people were
is
talking
amazing.
about it in the I'm sure it's amazing, but so what? There was a lot of comments. I mean, speaking of the douchey aspect of this car, it sounds like there were a lot of people contacting the seller after the car failed to sell, and BAT was kind of like, hey, you can make, only the top bidder can make a sale offer through our portal, right? So, but clearly other people were trying, and the seller was claiming, oh, sentimental value, I'm not going to let it go. Why sentimental value? Why were you even selling it in the first place? Don't give us that crap. That's nonsense. Yeah. He's just like trying to, you know, save face. What do you guys think of the Ferrari? Should it have brought more money? What? Go ahead.
He was selling the Ferrari to save the ski boat, you know?
Yeah, right. Sell the ski boat if you can. All right, what's the next car on the list? What do we got? You know what? Actually, before we get to the next car, I want to shout out to Kelly Smith. You were talking about the car show coming up here on May. You know what? I'll talk about that after the break. Let's get to this last car, and then we can talk about that after the break.
I want to shout out Kelly Smith, too, when we get a chance. All right, JP, we got one more car to circle back to, and that is our 1969 Mercedes-Benz 280 SC Cabriolet with a 4-speed manual. Our car was listed on Bring a Trailer out of San Clemente, California. The owner seems to have had the car for a long while. I think he's had it since 2013. And I believe he was responsible for a repaint in this very beautiful moss green metallic upholstery. The car also has like a tan leather. And the big thing here, JP, because it's the smaller motor and it's the tall grille, the wide grille is the one that's worth like ludicrous money. Those if you get the 3.5 and the wide grille, then the cars are suddenly worth some crazy amount of like, what do they call it? Like $350,000. This car, we wondered, JP, if it would get to like 150 with a repaint. But the 4-speed, I think, is what sort of sets it apart. I know a large portion of them are mixed between manual and automatic. I just feel like you don't see the manuals come up that often, and I just think they're really cool. I bet it's a really fun car to drive with the manual transmission. So anyways, without further ado, JP, our friends at Classic.com tell us that these cars bring, on average, $152,000 in the secondary market. I don't know why. I picked the car and I really like it, and then I went totally bearish on my bid. I went $138,000. JP, you took the under at just $129,280, and Rami Mirza, who technically, just probably doesn't know a lot about these cars, he's like, I love this car, and he bid $147,000. Rami was the closest of the three of us because our car hammered for $187,500 where it's sold on 29 bids. So well done, Rami. Well done to the seller. Congratulations to the new owner. Spectacular car. I think the car has a ton of eyeball. I would also suggest that price must reflect that that's an original color on the car. I mean, the hubcaps even match the thing. So well done all the way around. I may be bringing one of those wide-grilled, 3.5s to market here sometime this spring or early summer. So keep your eyes out on that. That's kind of why, JP, I want to do a little deep dive on this car. Give us an excuse to study the model and see what they're doing. But JP, were you surprised or shocked at all by the number on that winning bid? Did that catch your attention or what?
Well, I mean, again, we try to say when we're wrong, and both of us are hardcore wrong on this car. Yeah. Not only were we wrong then, but we're wrong right now. This car is worth a lot more. The original versions of this car are worth a ton more because if you actually read the listing, which we never do before the show, this car is not the original color. This car was
there you go.
This car doesn't have the original engine. It has a smaller engine. This car was not restored by the current owner. It was restored by someone else. The original restoration person came in and talked about it in the comments and at length. I mean, a lot of times when you go through comments on these auctions, they're quick comments. People are like, oh, beautiful car. I saw it. It's great. Happy bidding, all that kind of stuff. But we're talking about like page-long installations here. I'm trying to get down to some of the earlier comments. This car got a lot of attention. There were some boomers that were all about it. I mean, look at it. We are talking details here, man.
Yes.
This stuff goes for days. And that's one of the great things about the platform is that when you have a car, something like this that is special, I mean, from what it sounds like, and again, I don't know these at all, but it sounds like if this car were original, if it did have the original engine, and if it did have the original color, we are talking definitely one of those 350 or more. The car that I think you're talking about, people were saying that those are like 600,000 or something. I don't know. Again, I can't say I know one way or the other, but other than that, this car got a lot of attention. But it does look like everyone that was super involved in the in either the restoration or the people that were interested in this thing, they were all definitely, there were no young timers in this crowd. And I don't mean to disparage the people that were interested in this car, but I'm really bearish on the long-term value of something like this because in 5 years, 10 years, who the heck is going to be paying top dollar for this car? All of the guys that want this thing, it's not just want it because, Rami obviously said he liked it and everything, but Rami's not going to plunk that. Even though Rami's one of the few guys that we know that could plunk the money down, this is just not on his list. He's not buying one, even though he could totally pay the 200 or 300 or however much it's worth, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to do it. There's too many other whiz-bang cars that are going to get his attention before this. And I just don't see, because this seller was also talking about how he has 2 or 3 other cars that are similar to this that are going to be going up for sale. People are like, oh, make sure you let us know when that one goes for sale because we're going to be bidding on that one too. This car got a lot of action. But I think those guys, I guess the old folks' homes and the geriatric places, as long as they have an internet connection, can you go? Is Is there a long-term care facility that comes with a garage? I mean, can you get like a one bedroom and, you know, a nurse and then shuffleboard anytime you, and then, you know, and then also a 10-car garage? Because there's a growth market right there. Somebody will make a lot of money if the long-term care facility also has lots of covered parking.
All the caretakers drive manuals, so you can take the owners out. You can drive the owners around in their favorite cars, so you can hear them throw the gears. Well sold. Again, when you consider that it brought 187 and didn't have its original 3.5, or it wasn't the original colorway, that's incredible. Randy B says,
sorry, one more thing. The restoration was acknowledged by all involved that it was a top-rate, spectacular Concours level restoration, even though it wasn't an original restoration.
Yeah. Randy B says he cried when one of these got trashed in The Hangover, and then Anthony Vieira said, "Randy, you're a nerd." Like, of course he is. He's in the nerd herd. He's our
Was that even a real one in the movie? I doubt it. It was
I'm sure it was. Whatever. It's automatic, and they probably just pretended to mess up the interior. It's Hollywood. You know how they do that.
All right, guys, stick around. JP. We'll be right back. We got a commercial. We're going to make predictions right after this 30-second message from our good friends at Hoursmith.
Hey, guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Hoursmiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Hoursmiths, fine Swiss repair.
All right, we are back, but Michael Deeb is not. Look at that. He was running over there, sneaking a snack on the commercial break.
As soon as you went to commercial, I heard the garage door open, and I knew my daughter would run right up here and throw her arms around me, and so I had to close the studio door.
Oh, that would have been fun. So what do we do stuff? We sell cars. Tell us about that really quick, Michael Deeb.
Yeah, so basically, Bid Nerds have decided to put their money where their mouth is. If we talk about the best practices, a lot of people watch the show, and so we have been asked from time to time, and we decided to just make it official. Bid Nerds is selling cars. If you have a special interest car and you need help selling us, reach out to us through all the usual channels on social media. Or if you know one of us personally, just shoot us a text or an email, and we'd be happy to get on the phone and discuss what you have, and to sort of create a strategy where JP and his incredible media background can produce unbelievable assets, really world-class stuff. And then we'll throw it up on the Bid Nerds account, and I will, I'll basically bring the car to market for us and answer all the questions. So you get the team, and depending on where you are, we hope that makes sense for us to come and meet you in person and do all this stuff very hands-on. But we'll represent it, and we'll do a great job, and we will promise you top dollar for your car. So there it is.
Reach out to us on Instagram if you want to talk to Michael Deeb or myself about listing your car. Okay, lots of changes going on out there on some of these platforms. We were talking about cars and bids before the break and how they kind of screwed up that Aston listing. Chris Carbine, friend of the show, watching in the Nerd Herd live right now, and one of the OG Nerd Herd members. He's going to be up there in Idaho with us. He just sent me an interesting message that he got from Cars and Bids. Apparently, as of right now, Cars and Bids is like 80s and 90s and newer enthusiast cars, right? Excuse me. And most, so it's mostly contemporary cars. It's mostly like 2000s and up. You see some classic stuff, but nothing older than 1980. Apparently, they're opening that up. They're going to be allowing for a wider amount of cars, which is probably a good idea given that that's one of the areas where they're. Looks, Deeb, you got an audio issue there. All right, so that's kind of interesting that Cars and Bids is doing that. Stand by. Do we have our audio fixed there, Michael Deeb? Yep. Okay, we lost Michael Deeb. So while we wait for him to come back, I wanted to shout out to our friends up there in Idaho, and I was going to say, okay, Michael Deeb's back just in time. There we go. He's back.
Hey,
okay.
Hey, sorry about that, people.
Yeah. Okay, so up there in Idaho, we've got Air and Water coming, or Air and Water. We just went to Air and Water. What is it? Air and Coffee. Kelly Smith is genius for coming up with this show. I'm super proud of him for doing it, and very honored to be part of it. But I do got it. Look. I'm the creator of Cars und Cafe, right? That's basically Cars and Coffee. It's another and show. I got to say this. I am so sick of car shows with an and in the name. I'm done with it. You can't stop with the ands. I mean, air water was actually kind of smart. It's just like a slash in there. Cars and coffee, gears and grinds, all these stupid and. Somebody stop. I mean, just come on, man. We don't need any more ands. Get rid of the ampersands. What's
peanut butters and jellies, Jews and Arabs, all my favorite ants.
All the things, I mean, especially in Idaho. I mean, look, again, Kelly's created all this beautiful branding. The stuff just looks amazing. The posters and T-shirts, it's all going to be gorgeous. But the name, I'm just can't do it. I mean, it's fine, whatever. But there's a big opportunity. Why didn't they call it Spud? They could have just called it the Spud, and you could make an acronym. It could be like Special Porsches on Display or Sporty Porsches on Display. I mean, it's just right there. Spud, boom. You wouldn't even have to disclose the acronym. Just call it Spud. That would have been way cooler with the same branding. I'm just telling you, there it is. Kelly, if you're watching, rebrand everything. It's not too late. You haven't printed the T-shirts. Let's make this happen. Everybody with their stupid ands. Okay, that's my take, and I'm sticking to it. I do love the Spud Syndicate up there. Idaho Air. Yeah, I mean, come on with the air and it's always on the fucking nose. I'm so sick of this shit that's like straight on. Let's just explain exactly what it is because nobody knows what. Just come up with something different for crying out loud. All right, let's move on. What's the first car on the list, Michael D? And our douchebags ready to buy.
Oh, here we go. All right, so we have a car for them, and that is this 2010 Lamborghini Gallardo.
Yes, Paul. Sorry. Stupid Porsches under distress. Sorry. That was great. That's a good acronym. Nice work.
Wow, Paul Yon. That was fast. All right, there we go. 2010 Lamborghini Gallardo LP550-2 Valentino Balboni edition. Our car is on Cars and Bids and is one of just 250 Balboni made rear-wheel drive models, period. So 22,500 miles from new. The car is on Cars and Bids. It's listed out of Mason, Ohio on a Clean Ohio title. The big news here, JP, was this slight upgrade in performance. So the car literally does have 550 horsepower. The two tells us that it is a rear-wheel drive only car, as most of the Gallardos are all-wheel drive. So this car was a performance version. The handicap here is that the car has the single clutch gearbox. So it is a automatic. It's a shifting automatic with the paddle shifters, and it's a single clutch, which means it's quite a bit herky-jerky. When you're driving it flat out on the track, it's very smooth. But in stop and go traffic, it's got a start stop thing all the time. It's probably not the smoothest Lamborghini they ever made. That being said, being a Balboni, I think kind of has some weight to it. It's one of 250 for the world. So I mean, I'm sure there's 100 in the United States, but by the numbers, that makes it a very rare car. So while a lot of the single clutch gearbox cars are trading for under $100,000, I think this rear-wheel drive Balboni version is going to bring considerably more money than that. It still won't bring the kind of money the manual gated shifter cars will bring, and it doesn't matter if those gated shifters are all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. Those are the ones to have. But I think this Balboni should ring the till. Now, the question is, are these assets any good, and will it find its buyer on Cars and Bids? I'd still like to see this car get professionally shot, which I don't think is what happened here. And I think this is a car you could run at a live auction, any of the big top auctions this summer, or you could bring it to the bigger thing. I still don't think I would trust Doug DeMiro to sell my limited edition Lamborghini sports car. So let's get into it, JP. What do you think of this car? I know you had the Audi R8 with the V10 and this same gearbox, and you loved your car. Any love for the Gallardo with the Valentino Balboni stripe, because that's all it is. It's a stripe on the outside. It's a stripe down the seat, but it's one of 250. And you know how those people go bananas when you tell them, oh, there's only 6 of these in yellow in the United States. And all of a sudden people are like, they can't give you enough money for it. You gotta tip your hat to the marketing guys. What do you think, JP?
Douchebag car. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think the douchebags that want this car aren't going to spend the extra cheese because I don't think they're going to know anything about the Balboni thing. They're just going to be like, oh, why is this one twice as much as the other one with an E-gear transmission? The douchebags don't know how to drive three-pedal cars. But I'm going to be here to say, look, everybody that shits on the e-gear cars, it's mostly people who have only ever rented a car like this. They've never actually driven one for real. Maybe they went to one of those track experiences where they went around the track, like, some short parking lot track for 2 or 3 times, or, they stumbled around
Speed Vegas.
Speed Vegas, or they rented one of these cars for like 2 hours while they were in town or for their birthday or something like that. The problem with e-gear is most people just don't know how to drive them. They expect it to be like a PDK where you just keep your foot in it and you flip through the gears. If you do that, it's not going to work right. You have to modulate the throttle. It's not an automatic. I mean, and I don't get me wrong, a 3-pedal car is definitely better, but these are not automatic transmissions. Automatic transmissions are torque converters, whereas this is a manual transmission with a automatic clutch actuator. So instead of pushing the clutch button, it's doing it for you. Hit that paddle, it pushes the clutch in, changes the gear, and then takes the clutch out. So if you keep your foot on the gas, on the accelerator while you're shifting, it's going to be clunky just like it would if you were driving a 3-pedal car and left your foot on the accelerator while you shifted. That's not how you do it. And around traffic, again, it's not as smooth as a torque converter automatic, but get the F over it. That's the whole point. That's why this car is better than basically the S, or whatever the new transmission is, the double clutch version. I know it's called the S-Tronic in the Audi. I'm not sure what the newer transmission is this thing. But yeah, I think this car is going to be too expensive for the douchebags. So it's going to be down to the collectors. Will the collectors come out and pay the extra money? I know they usually pay extra money for stuff like this. I don't know how many people are really paying attention to this thing. Do you buy this for the same money, or do you get that 458 that we talked about before the break? What's this thing going to bring?
All right, JP. So once upon a time, these cars were trading for $200,000 or more because it was a Balboni, because it was the V10 with the sort of, .2 specification up to 550 horsepower and rear wheel drive. But times they are a changing. What's the car that came after it? The Huracan. As Huracans are softening, spending $200,000 on a Balboni doesn't make sense when all of a sudden you could reach for a Huracan and have, arguably a way more modern, way more, douchey or bitchin' modern car. So I think Balboni values have hurt. It's a shame they didn't make Balbonis with a manual transmission. They would be the most expensive Gallardo of all time, but that's not what we have here. JP, according to our friends at classic.com, the average selling price of an LP 550.2 with the e-gear transmission is just $127,000. I couldn't find results through Classic specifically for the Balboni, but I know the cars well enough to know they used to sell for $200,000, and I don't think that's going to happen here. John, here we go. Our car is currently sitting at $88,888 by way of 4 bids, and it closes on, let me give you the date here real quick, April 29th, which is going to be Tuesday. So the car closes on Tuesday. John, my bid on this car is going to come in at $158,000. And I think that should be enough to get it done. If this guy thinks he's going to get more than 160 for this car with 22,000 miles on the odometer, he's tripping. The only cars that are bringing 180 or anything near $200,000 are going to be 2,000-mile examples. But this car has been driven. This car is going to have a patina and some chips and some creases in the leathers. It doesn't have the carbon fiber racing seats. It doesn't have a gated manual. I'm sorry, 158 is the number. If it gets to my number, it should sell. If it doesn't, the seller doesn't really want to let it go anyway. So there you go. 158 to you, John. You going to go over that? You think the douches are out tonight? Where you at?
Like I said, the douches aren't in line for this car. They don't understand what it is. This car is on the wrong platform. Anthony Vieira doesn't know how to drive an e-gear, but he does know what he's talking about when it comes to the platform. This car needs to be on BAT. If it were on BAT, it might get somewhere close to the number that you just said, Deeb, but on this platform, not even remotely close. I'm going to be shocked if this car gets another $10,000. So because you gave me such a huge spread, this car is dead on arrival on Cars and Bids. Cars and Bids is a crap platform right now, and there's no way that you need a special buyer that knows what the Balboni is in order to get that premium out of this car. Cars and Bids isn't the place that you're going to get those two guys that know what this is. You need this car in front of an audience of people that are aware of that. Yeah, so I'm going to say, I don't know, $95,000, and of course it fails to sell.
$95,000. JP is super bearish on this car. There you go, $95,000. And let's see if Bid Nerds answers the phone when we call. I'm sorry, Bid Nerds. If Cars and Bids answers the phone when the Bid Nerds call, say, hey, we'd like to sell this Jeep that somebody asked us to sell. And you're not a crap platform after all. You're the Jeep seller or the Rivian seller, or
maybe a Rivian. I wouldn't even sell a Jeep there. Yeah, maybe a Rivian is about the only thing I'd sell on Cars and Bids. Look, and to be clear, I don't think that number is what I think it's worth. It's just, I think it's just the platform means it's DOA. I mean, it's only got a day left, and it's only $88,000. We never see 60% jumps in the final day on that platform. All right,
does have 2 days. Closes on Tuesday. That one. So if you are going to watch, it's going to close on Tuesday the 29th. JP, we're going to jump into this car that was submitted to us by Mike LeBlanc from the Nerd Herd. Mike is in the comments all the time. He's on tonight. He put $116,500 on the Gallardo. Mike selected our next car, which is this 2016 Porsche 911 Carrera GTS. This is a coupe, two-wheel drive, 7-speed manual. JP, look, you and I both love how the 991 drives. It's not an air-cooled car. It's not even a 997, but it's a really good car. And if you happen to have a GTS that was rear-wheel drive and a coupe with a 7-speed manual, that is a sick-ass car. This one has, center lock wheels, and it's only got 16,000 miles on the odometer. So the car comes to market out of Bend, Oregon. It's on BAT. It's all blazing in the guards red paint, and then you got the red calipers and red stitching on the interior. It's got the full GTS interior with the stripes down the seat belt and the Alcantara centers of the adaptive sports seats. JP, this is perilously close to how I would want mine. I don't know if I'd do red, but I'd go white with silver on the inside. But an absolute gas to drive. This car would be a total hoot. You would love to drive this thing. JP, 3.8 liter flat six. This is the last of the normally aspirated ones, right? The following year was the turbocharged car. So this car has really got some sort of collector potential, especially with the low odometer. And it looks like they spent some money on the spec, going the full, $4,000 leather and stitched interior and the center lock wheels with the, forged wheels. I really dig the car. So Mike, great call on this car. I'm not impressed with the assets. I think a car of this caliber, a true six-figure car, a car that, speculators and collectors and end users alike would all be interested in watching and participating in. I think you got to do a better job on the assets. Call the Bid Nerds. We can fix that for you and get you maximum return on your dollar. Our car closes tomorrow, JP. I know you had, if I'm correct, you had this generation, a 991.1 S cab with a manual that you loved for a little while. And it was one of those cars, if I'm remembering correctly, JP, 5 minutes after you sold that car, you were on the phone to me and you're like, damn, I missed that car. I don't know why I sold it. I was like, yeah, I can't believe you didn't hang on to it for like 3 more months or something. It had AC and you lived in Vegas. Like, what are you doing? But you really like driving that car. And I've owned two 991s. I dig the car too. It is modern. It is too good for its own good. It's not going to make you a better driver, but we have to admit, JP, it's a damn good car.
It's beyond a damn good car. And mine was not a cab, surprisingly enough. It was a coupe. It was very similar to this. It's shockingly how similar.
That's why you sold it. It was a coupe.
I wanted to keep that car, but I'm not going to get into that whole story. But this particular car really is the spec that a lot of people look. The GT3 of the same generation was only available with flappy paddles, right? There was no manual GT3. So this is the best manual 911 you could get of the generation, unless you stepped up to a 911R, which was $500,000 or whatever, and still trade for well over that. So I think this is the better car than the GT3. The GT3s of this generation are plagued with a bad engine. Everyone knows that .1 GT3 is it's worse than the IMS finesse bearing of the 996s and early 997s. The GT3s of the first generation 991, those engines will break. They will blow up. It will be catastrophic. That's going to happen. And many of them that even had engines replaced by the factory before they were even delivered, those engines have failed. We've heard of GT3 engines failing over 3 times. Factory replaced engines. So if you want a 991 with a naturally aspirated engine, this is the one to get. And I will tell you, my regular S was spec'd just like this. It had everything, sport seats, all this stuff. Like it was optioned to the hilt. Of course, it didn't have the what do you call it? The wheels with no legs. I'm spacing on what they're called.
Center locks.
Center locks. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I remember driving that car going, all right, it's around 400 horsepower. This is every bit this is as much car as I'll ever need. And it has 3 pedals. You could give me that Ferrari 458 and that thing would, I'm sure, performance wise, is definitely better, but who cares? It has flappy paddles. You want the 3rd pedal? This is probably one of the best options for a car under, call it, well under $200,000. Chris Carbine said this is the greatest car other than maybe a T. But even then, a T is the smaller engine with turbos. This is the real deal. This car is fantastic. What's it going to bring? I think it's going to bring real money. I think this is going to do well.
JP, I just want to touch on your juxtaposition. You brought up a great juxtaposition, which I hadn't thought of. The GT3 and the GT3 RS from the 991.1 variants were PDK only. The 911R had a 6-speed manual, and you could option it with a single mass clutch and gearbox, or clutch, with a single mass clutch, which would make the car rev really, really fast. It'd be really fun to drive when you're out driving spiritedly. Those cars, JP, you had to be invited to purchase, and the sticker on those cars was actually fairly reasonable. It was around $200,000 to $220,000, depending on how you spec'd your 911R out. This car, JP, the MSRP on this car is only like $138,000. The base price at $114 means this car had, just $14,000 in options. If I'm doing the math right, I think I might be off there, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. Whatever.
Did
anyway,
anyone pay anywhere close to retail for a 911R though? I mean,
they did. Nah, they did, because they were selling them to 918 customers, so they weren't gouging those guys, and they only made a handful of them. The thing is, those cars have been trading for twice as much in the secondary market, and they continue to appreciate. Yeah. This car with the 7-speed, although it's not as good as the 6-speed, is the best manual Porsche from that era that you could buy if you were a mere mortal. And these cars, JP, we've seen have held their own. We remember we covered one that I actually think was on like Cars and Bids and was like purple with beige interior. And it was a GTS with a manual, and that car did really, really well. So what will this car bring, JP? 16,000 miles on the odometer. It's listed out of Bend, Oregon. Our friends at classic.com tell us that these cars, the GTSs with a manual, only bring about $117,000 in the secondary market. Our car is currently already up to $110,000, and it closes tomorrow. So, JP, the MSRP on this car was $138,000. I think this car is essentially going to bring sticker. My bid to you is $135,000. This car basically brings sticker, and this guy is going to be thrilled that he got to enjoy his car, and he's probably getting all of his money back and then some. So, JP, where are you at? $135,000 to you.
Going over 140,991. I think this thing could get above 150. I would not be shocked at all. Yeah. I know people are talking about things being bearish, but there just aren't any of these around. GTSs pop up for sale quite often, but they almost always have 2 pedals. 3-pedal cars are unobtainium. I think that's if anybody's holding back and they're sitting on their wallet going, I'm waiting for the right car just showed up. This is it. That's it. So get it, because a 911R is $1 million. All right, what's the next car on the list? We got to move on quick because we're low.
Yeah, JP, well, you and I got to ask the question. That was so much fun to do that car. Why doesn't Mike LeBlanc select more cars for the show? That was well done, man. Mike. Nice great car. Thank you, Mike. JP, we're going to run through this 1995 Pontiac Firebird SLP Firehawk with a 6-speed manual. The coupe has just 12,000 miles and comes in dark purple metallic paint. I mean, that color is so Mopar and not GM. I'm so surprised that's on a General Motors car. If you know, you know. One of
Does
approximately
look like a Prowler purple, doesn't it?
Right? Doesn't it totally? So number 538 of approximately 711 Firehawks modified by SLP Engineering, which gave it, I don't know, a few little goodies, probably a better rated tire, and some suspension and stuff like that. Cool cars, super low miles. We rarely cover Trans Ams or Corvettes from this era, but this car looked, first of all, it looks striking in the purple paint. Front engine V8 with a 6-speed manual and rear wheel drive, just 12,000 miles on the odometer. And it's kind of a limited edition being an SLP Firehawk. I thought, what the hell? This car is on BAT out of Rockville, Maryland, and looks to be in outstanding condition. I'm surprised somebody had this. Yeah, somebody didn't drive it more. Firehawks SLPs bring $26,000. I think this car brings $26,000. You gonna go over that or under?
Yeah, I'm going to go under. This car is, this is the biggest downgrade. What is it? The Last of Us. They were talking about the downgrade. That's the big meme that's going around right now. This car started the whole downgrade thing. This thing is just so hideous when you compare it to the original Trans Am, which was badass. What's it at now? How much is it at now?
It's at $18,000 and it closes in 2 days. My bid was 26.
All right, what's the next car? What do we got?
22,000. All right, let me put your bid in, and then I'll give you my undivided. All right, here we go, JP. Our next car is also selected by a member of the Nerd Herd. JP, feast your eyes on this 2005 Porsche 911 Turbo S Coupe in cobalt blue, but it goes crashing into a wall. This car has an automatic transmission. JP, I didn't know you could get a Turbo S with standard seats and a slush box. This car is an effing unicorn. Thank you, Rook in the Nerd Herd, for selecting this car for us. Stunning on paper. This is like the football player that gets off the bus and he's all muscles and then the ball is snapped and he's dainty with his hands and he doesn't actually deliver on being a menace on a football field. This car looks like the bee's knees. If you rolled up next to it, you're like, I'm not going to race this guy. Then you find out he's got a slush box and you're like, later, dude. So all-wheel drive. The Turbo S's got like an extra 40 horsepower. They got ceramic brakes. This one's got the Aero kit. I don't know if Cobalt Blue was a regular range or a PTS, but it's striking today, especially with the yellow seatbelts and the yellow calipers. But the big news here, JP, standard seats, automatic transmission, ball sack leather. This car needed a black interior, it needed sports seats, and it needed a manual. And this would be $150,000 cars with its 27,000-mile odometer. But JP, our car is running no reserve. It closes in 2 days, and it's sitting at just $55,996. According to our friends at Classic.com, who do have a column for automatic Turbo S's, they say they only bring 56 grand. Well, this car is already at 57. I put my bid at $71,000, where it will obviously sell because it's running no reserve. JP, any love for the 996 turbos with an automatic?
What was your number?
71 grand.
Yeah, I mean, this car, I am shocked it's even at the number that it's at. These auto tragic cars are usually sales proof. Unlike the E-Gear car we were talking about before, where it's an electronically actuated clutch. This is a true torque converter automatic transmission. This is a real automatic transmission out of a Mercedes SL 500. It's only a 5-speed, it basically mails a letter to Germany and they ship you back and they give you the approval to shift gears. It is garbage. It makes the car feel heavy and they're just terrible. I cannot believe this car is even at this number. If I had no number at all, I would have said 55. I mean, just nobody wants this car. And this is the power of platform. This is why Bring a Trailer is pretty much the only game in town. Bring a Trailer does not pay us. In fact, they don't even acknowledge us. They don't like us. But I'll go ahead and say it. Bring a Trailer is the only game in town. Don't waste your time with P-Car Market. Don't waste your time with Cars and Bids. This car on either of those two platforms wouldn't even break 45 grand, you guys. This thing's gonna get, your number was what? 70 what?
71.
Yeah, I'm gonna park it right under and say $70,996. I'm literally going to park it $4 underneath you, and say that that is a show. All right, guys, we're dishing on the douchebags, and we are a couple of douchebags. Thanks for hanging out. You guys in the Nerd Herd are awesome. We love you. And Ross, it's not because it's blue. It's because it has 2 pedals and a slushy slush box that's heavy and sucks. Actually, kind of like the color. I think it's pretty.
Yeah, but he's right because you do hate blue.
True, I do.
So Ross, you get a gold star. You're the substitute teacher gives you a gold star for paying attention over the last 4 years.
That's right. All right, guys, taking it out with the Kremer.